Have you ever felt invisible even when surrounded by people? Imagine waking up and realizing days have passed without a single meaningful conversation. No calls, no visits, just silence. Now imagine this isn't just a rare occurrence. For millions of older adults, this is their everyday life. Today, we're going to talk about a health threat that's often overlooked, but just as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Yes, that's how the World Health Organization classifies chronic loneliness in older age. But what really causes it? Is it just about being alone, or is it about being forgotten? In this video, you'll discover the hidden physical and emotional toll of isolation, backed by real data. The small warning signs that even close family members often miss. And most importantly, you'll learn powerful, science-backed ways to reconnect not just socially, but emotionally. Because aging doesn't mean fading away. It means evolving, and connection is the key. Let's begin. Let's begin by understanding what we're really talking about. Social isolation and loneliness are not the same, though they often go hand in hand. Social isolation is objective. It refers to a measurable lack of social contact, few interactions, rare participation in community life, or little access to support networks. Loneliness, on the other hand, is subjective. It's the emotional pain of feeling disconnected, unseen, or forgotten even when surrounded by people. You can be isolated and not feel lonely, and you can feel lonely even when living with others. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) reports that 1 in 4 adults over age 65 is considered socially isolated in the United States. And according to the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, loneliness increases the risk of dementia by 50%, heart disease by 29%, and stroke by 32%. These aren't just emotional issues. They are critical public health risks. Let's take a moment to visualize this through the life of Robert, a 77-year-old retiree. After his wife passed away, Robert stayed in their family home where every corner echoed memories. He stopped attending church, declined dinner invites, and told himself he just needed time. But days turned into weeks, and silence became his new routine. What he didn't realize was that his brain chemistry was changing. Prolonged loneliness triggers increased cortisol, the stress hormone, and reduces sleep quality, immune strength, and even appetite. Loneliness also shrinks the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. No wonder it's been linked to early cognitive decline and depression. But here's what makes this topic even more complex. Many older adults hide their loneliness. Pride, fear of being a burden, or not wanting to complain often leads them to put on a brave face. And in a world obsessed with independence, asking for connection can feel like admitting defeat. We need to break this silence. We must begin by seeing loneliness for what it is, not a weakness, not a phase, but a dangerous, invisible illness, one that feeds on stigma and silence. The good news? There are ways to intervene and even reverse its effects. But first, we must understand its roots. Loneliness doesn't appear out of nowhere. It builds slowly, often in the wake of life events that older adults face with striking regularity. One of the most significant triggers? The loss of a spouse. Imagine being married for 50 years, sharing everything: meals, routines, holidays, even the quiet moments. Then suddenly, silence. For many, this profound absence marks the beginning of disconnection. They may stop cooking full meals, avoid old traditions, or withdraw from social events that remind them of what they've lost. Next comes retirement. While often celebrated, it also means losing daily structure, a sense of purpose, and everyday interactions. Suddenly, there are no coworkers to chat with, no team to belong to, and then there's physical health. Limited mobility, chronic illness, or fatigue can make socializing feel daunting. Even conditions like arthritis or hearing loss can make conversations exhausting, especially in noisy environments. Many seniors feel like they're no longer able to keep up, so they slowly retreat, not out of choice, but out of self-protection. Financial strain also plays a role. Social outings, transportation, even basic connectivity tools like a smartphone all come at a cost. And let's not forget emotional stigma. Older adults are often seen as resilient, even stoic. This perception can make it hard for them to admit vulnerability. They may think, everyone's busy. I don't want to be a burden. And as friends begin to pass away or move into care homes, their social circles shrink sometimes to zero. Consider Margaret, a 74-year-old former teacher. She lives alone in a quiet suburb. Her only son lives across the country and calls every few weeks. Margaret's arthritis keeps her from driving, and public transport is unreliable in her area. She used to enjoy bridge games at the library, but stopped going when her hearing loss worsened. Now, most days are spent in silence, except for the radio and the occasional chat with the mail carrier. Her story isn't rare. In fact, it's far too common. Understanding these causes isn't about blame. It's about building compassion and seeing the full picture of what many seniors face behind closed doors. One of the most dangerous things about social isolation is how quietly it sets in. There's no dramatic moment, no headline, just subtle shifts in behavior, in mood, in energy. That's why identifying early warning signs is critical. You might notice your loved one no longer keeps up with hygiene, skipping showers, wearing the same clothes for days. This isn't laziness. It's often a sign of emotional withdrawal. Changes in eating habits are another clue. A once sociable eater now prepares only toast for dinner, or skips meals entirely. Sleep patterns may shift to staying up late into the night, or sleeping most of the day. This disruption often masks underlying depression. Perhaps they're more irritable or unusually quiet. Maybe they no longer answer calls or seem distracted when they do. Even a reduction in eye contact can be revealing. For caregivers and family, it's crucial to understand that these are not personality flaws. Their distress signals often masked as apathy or stubbornness. Let's revisit Margaret for a moment. Her neighbor, Rosa, recently noticed she hadn't picked up her mail for several days. When Rosa knocked, Margaret finally answered, but she looked disoriented, as if unsure what day it was. The home was dimly lit, cluttered, and for the first time, Margaret didn't ask about Rose's grandchildren, something she always used to do. This moment was a red flag. Rosa decided to act. She contacted a local senior support group, which helped arrange a wellness check. That one action might have prevented something worse. Because isolation isn't always visible. Sometimes it hides behind a smile, or behind phrases like, I'm fine, or don't worry about me. But if we really observe, we can spot the difference between independence and emotional abandonment. And we can act before silence becomes danger. Now that we've seen how loneliness takes root, let's shift to hope and action. Because the truth is, isolation is not inevitable in older age. There are proven, effective strategies that can rebuild connection and even rekindle joy. One of the most powerful tools? Structured social activities. Senior centers, faith-based groups, libraries, and recreational clubs offer more than just distraction. They provide routine, belonging, and shared purpose. In fact, studies from the National Institute on Aging show that older adults who participate in regular group activities have higher life satisfaction and significantly lower rates of depression. Let's look at Robert again. After months of solitude, he was introduced to a local woodworking class for seniors. At first, he was reluctant and unsure he'd have the energy or confidence to join. But with encouragement, he attended. He didn't just build a small table, he built relationships. Each week, he had something to look forward to. He shared stories, asked for advice, and even mentored a younger volunteer. What began as a hobby became a lifeline. Volunteering is another powerful antidote to isolation. Whether it's reading to children at a local school, tending a community garden, or helping at a food pantry, being needed can restore a sense of identity and value. Even owning a pet has been shown to decrease loneliness, especially dogs, who encourage outdoor movement and conversation with strangers. Faith communities also offer deep connection not only through worship, but through ritual, shared memory, and mutual care. The key is consistency. It's not one event that changes everything, it's the ongoing presence of others. But here's the challenge. Many seniors don't take the first step. That's why community outreach programs, local councils, and healthcare providers must actively extend invitations, sometimes more than once. Because beneath the silence, there is often a heart waiting, just waiting to be invited back to life. Technology is often seen as a young person's world, but when used with purpose and support, it becomes a lifeline, especially for older adults facing isolation. Video calls, messaging apps, online clubs, and even multiplayer games can reconnect seniors to family, friends, and shared interests. And the numbers don't lie. According to the Pew Research Center, internet use among seniors over 65 has more than tripled in the last decade, with many now using devices daily for communication and entertainment. Let's meet Doreen. At 82, Doreen had never touched a smartphone. After her granddaughter moved overseas, she felt the distance deeply. A local digital literacy program introduced her to video calling. The first time she saw her granddaughter's face live on the screen, Doreen cried not out of sadness, but relief. From that day on, Sunday morning became their new tradition, a weekly video chat, sometimes just 10 minutes. But it gave her rhythm, anticipation, and joy. Technology doesn't stop at family connection. Many older adults are joining virtual book clubs, religious services, and even yoga sessions via Zoom. Others play chess with people in other countries or attend live-streamed concerts. There are even apps designed specifically for seniors with larger fonts, simplified interfaces, and reminders for medications or appointments. But there's a catch. The digital divide is real. Many seniors lack access to Wi-Fi, devices, or training. That's why community centers, libraries, and even pharmacies must do more to offer digital inclusion programs, not just drop-off tablets, but offer patient, hands-on training. Because with the right support, older adults don't just adapt, they thrive. Technology, when humanized, doesn't replace connection. It extends it across distances, across generations, and even across loneliness itself. Loneliness is personal, but the solution is collective. Families, caregivers, neighbors, and local communities all play a role in rebuilding the invisible bridges that loneliness has torn down. For families, it starts with awareness. Don't wait for your loved one to say, "I'm lonely." Learn to read between the lines. When your dad stops fixing things around the house. When your aunt no longer talks about her favorite book club. When your grandmother says, "I don't want to bother anyone," that's your cue to lean in, not back away. Consistent, small actions matter more than grand gestures. A 15-minute call every week, dropping off groceries and staying for tea, inviting them to help cook, or listening to the same old story again. Caregivers also have immense power. Whether they're professionals or family members, caregivers can make or break someone's sense of connection. Simple acts like engaging in conversation, respecting choices, or encouraging participation in group activities create emotional safety. And let's not forget the power of neighbors. A quick wave, a short visit, an invitation to join for a walk. These actions cost little, but they give everything. Now picture a small town in the UK that launched a friendly bench initiative where older adults could gather at designated park benches designed for casual conversation. What started as a local experiment became a movement across Europe because loneliness doesn't need a cure, it needs connection. And communities are stepping up. Churches hosting Call a Senior days, libraries offering book deliveries and check-ins, even barbershops organizing chat clubs for older men. We must think beyond care and start thinking in terms of belonging, because no one, no matter how old, should ever feel forgotten. We often speak of aging in terms of loss of speed, of sharpness, of independence. But what if we reframed it? What if we saw aging not as fading, but as deepening? A deepening of wisdom, of emotional depth, of stories worth telling. Loneliness can dim that light, but connection, even in its simplest form, can reignite it. So today, ask yourself, who in your life might be smiling while silently suffering? Who hasn't been called in a while? Who used to be active, but lately has grown quiet? Reach out, not just once, but consistently, because being remembered is one of the most powerful medicines we can offer. If you're a caregiver, a health worker, or a neighbor, your presence matters. Not your perfection, just your presence. And if you're an older adult watching this, please know you are not a burden. You are needed. You are remembered. There are communities waiting to welcome you, stories waiting to be heard, hands ready to reach out, including yours. Because no one at any age should feel invisible. We are human, and humans are wired heart and soul for connection.